Hi there, I'm Nicole Wilbur, and today's video is all about heist stories. This video is part of a very exciting collaboration that I am so thrilled about. It includes 9 other Authortubers, and we're all tackling a different genre, from historical to romance to thriller to fantasy to heists, and talking about the lessons we've learned, how it's like writing in it, and hopefully giving you a really great resource for those of you who want to start writing a new book in a new genre in 2024. And so this video is all about telling you why I love heist stories, what I've learned about them, and to hopefully get you kickstarted into how to write one for yourself. So let's get started. So what is a heist story? The things to know about a heist story are that they are about the people on the other side of the law. We are cheering on the criminals. Usually it's about that one big score, about stealing something, pulling a really large con. There's some sort of crime being committed. Honestly, sometimes it doesn't even matter why, so much as it's about the how. In a heist story, you typically have the team of lovable and maybe not necessarily likable, but lovable characters who are very skilled, and their particular skills contribute to the heist, and each one is unique. You have the plan being so complex. Part of the fun is seeing super smart people come up with genius ways to overcome impossible odds and impossible barriers. It's one of those genres, one of the only ones where you'll see characters literally standing at a whiteboard listing out everything that they plan to do. The plan is basically the biggest element here. It's the funnest part. So the characters are tricking their opponents, but in the heist story, the author tricks the audience. I heard Ali Carter talk about this. We really have to use subterfuge, so they think that the plan has failed. They think something has gone wrong. Think of Ocean's 11 when the SWAT team comes in. But really, it's all just part of the plan, and that is our big twist. The heist is kind of a subgenre. I've heard it put as a subgenre of both crime stories and sort of action adventure stories. Some heist stories are much more crime oriented. They're the ones that are about justice and injustice, where, you know, the people we're stealing from are really the corrupt ones, and it's a larger conversation about society. So something like Money Heist really feeds into that. But some others lean more into action, and it's not a this or that, but some do lean a lot more into action. I'd say Six of Crows leans a lot into the action side of things, where it's more about success and failure and personal success versus personal relationships. And can you have both of them at the same time, or are you choosing one over the other? Kind of one of your, classic action hero variations. So I love to write in the heist genre and to read in it, mostly because I love the feelings that are associated with it. So there's this feeling of like defiance and triumph in these stories. You're breaking the law and you're winning and you're pulling one over and you're being successful. It has a lot of the same elements as a performance story, like a Rocky, but it's the team all working together to get that to happen. And I love that we're like all in this together feeling within the team. I love the community and the different relationships that they can have, because usually it's something of a large cast. Like Ocean's 11, this is a groundbreaker here, had 11 people. They had 11 like mainish characters. So seeing all of their different interactions is a huge, crazy part of it. Ali Carter's Heist Society has a crew of 6 or 7, I think it is, and just watching them interact is so much fun. I also love the high stakes and the fast pace, and seeing relationships under those pressures, seeing them form and break and have conflict, because if you're arguing in the middle of stealing something, the stakes are immediately so much higher for the outcome of that argument. So it's such a fun place to get into. So that is kind of the heist genre and what I love about it. Now I'm going to talk about some things that will hopefully be helpful for you if you are wanting to write in this genre. So first of all, I'm going to go through my go-to resources for writing heist stories. Number 1, there is a Brandon Sanderson video. I will put it linked down below. It is lecture 3 of his 2020 BYU lecture series, where he talks about the different kinds of heists and breaks it down. There's also, I think, a snippet taken from that. That's a video on its own, so I will link them both. It is a really great overview. It's the video that made me say, okay, I can do this. I can write a heist. The other resource, I would recommend watching heist movies. So the two classics that are like probably collectively define the genre are the Thomas Crown Affair and Ocean's 11, which were released in 1999 and 2001 respectively. So watching those two movies, I think, is a really good idea to get a sense of what audiences expect in a heist story. Obviously, read books with heist stories as well. That's a great thing to do, but those two movies really define the genre well. And the third resource I'm going to recommend here is this website called Anatomy of a Heist. And this guy went through and detailed in detail all of the conventions of a heist story and broke down something like 11 different heist movies. And there's a spreadsheet where he has like checked off which of the conventions they meet and which of them don't. And there's plot breakdowns, and it's crazy. It is so helpful also. Now I want to talk about a couple of misconceptions and mistakes that I made along the way of writing a heist story. The first one is that it is hard to get a non-criminal to become a criminal, a normal person being pulled into a heist. And that is very tricky. There are believability problems with that, and it does take time. That because the heist audience just wants to see the planning and just wants to get to it, it can be a bit of a slippery slope to get someone into it. That's not to say that you can't. There's lots of ways to make a normal person go into a heist, like threaten them, have them like be forced into it. What you kind of get into is this space where like your protagonist, your main character, needs to have protagonism and be super active. But if they're being forced into doing the heist, they like don't want to. And really what heist audiences want to see is your mastermind who's like fully committed. So it's just something to be mindful about, something that I've had trouble with. The how is more important than the why, but because you hit the why in the first 25%, you can lose a lot of people with the why. So figuring out the why and making it kind of like short, sweet, here we go, and convincing is something that I would have spent maybe more time and spent more time thinking about. They have to really get to that point where they are committed to the heist and going for it and in it rather quickly. The other misconception or mistake is thinking that it kind of has to be Ocean's 11. I did just suggest watching Ocean's 11, and I do stand by that. But I think the coolest thing about the heist genre is because the conventions are so well defined, it can be so exciting to just kind of flip some of them around. You can play with the MacGuffin, the thing that they're stealing. Is it a person? Is it a reindeer? I don't know. You can really make it like enter into different worlds. There was a book deal done, I think in the Publisher's Weekly Reports, where this heist is happening at someone's father's or stepfather's wedding. Cool, a heist at a wedding. That's like a really cool setting. So it's really about being, it doesn't have to be at a bank. It doesn't have to be at a museum. Try to flip it. Try to come up with something that's interesting and more specific and different. You can really play. Obviously, you have to see and read and watch a lot of heists to be able to figure out what those conventions are. But once you get them, don't feel like you need to stay in the box. Even something as simple as Ocean's 11 has a really long, like, assembling the team beat. Not all heist stories have to have that. The Thomas Crown Affair doesn't have that, for example. Do you need it? Maybe, maybe not. But with all of these really defined conventions, you can come up with such creative, fun, exciting ways to play in them. And I think I spent too much time on the elements of my story that were just to my story and not enough time thinking, this is a convention, how do I innovate it? How do I play with it? How do I make this exciting? And making sure that all of those beats that were expected were the coolest, the most exciting, the most fun way they could possibly show up in the book. And the last thing I have here is just a little bit of advice if you want to start writing a heist story in 2024. Obviously, the first piece of advice is read a lot of heist stories. My second piece of advice, though, is the plan is the thing. This is another thing that I had a lot of trouble with. I eventually realized that I needed to have a separate outline for the plan. I do an outline for the book and have an outline for the plan, what they're doing. And I had to go painstakingly through and design the security system around the thing, and then design the team's plan for getting through the security system, and then design how the plan would go wrong, and then figure out exactly what they would do to fix it. And it's so important to have that up front, because that plan informs pretty much everything that happens in Act 2. And in order to foreshadow and to shape the Act 2, figure out what they're doing, you need the plan, you need to know what goes wrong, you need to know what's hidden, and you need to know how to fix it. So I would really suggest spending time diving into that plan and having fun with it, getting deep in there, making sure that, you know, your characters are necessary for executing it. Do they have the skills, the special skills needed for every element? Is the twist related to your character's arc? You know, what is happening there that is the culmination of your character's development? And of course, making sure that you know what your big twist or high tower surprise is and how your plan is going to fix it, so you can set it up and avoid Deus Ex Machina. Now, I am always learning new things. I'm definitely not an expert on writing heist stories, so if you have any advice or suggestions or experiences of your own that you want to share, please do in the comments below. I look forward to hearing them. If you haven't checked out the full playlist, definitely do it now. It is so much fun. These creators are so smart and have such great tips, and it is so cool to hear about these genres that I personally have not heard about before. So please enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. You can subscribe and like the video if you liked it, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.